that'll be after we eat.
I mean, it's a Marvel. They gotta have all the showings, right?
Times are changing.
Times they are changing.
A good segue if we want it. I don't know.
Do
we want that?
Bud. It's your choice.
You are literally in charge right now.
With a statement so reflective, we could easily introduce the show. Welcome in, everyone. Things are going to be a little bit different anyways because other changes of which we must embrace.
We must embrace change.
Hi, I'm
My
back.
name is Snowcone. His name is Snowcone.
Yep, that's me, Snowcone. I'm Snowcone84. It's nice to meet all of you.
And the 82nd and 85th Snowcone are here with us as well.
Oh, do we have to fight who gets 82nd and 85th?
You pick whatever you want, Boingo.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Well, tonight, and right now, we're going to get pretty analytical about the Midnight Gospel.
Yeah,
this is a show.
Incredible
this
intro.
is your pick, Cody. This is a adult cartoon. I feel that I hate that term. Yeah, I hate that term
it's
because
fair for this one, I think.
Yeah,
it is fair because it gets very. We'll get into it, but yeah.
But like no, I just like for cartoons that are not for kids. I just hate the term adult cartoon. It's just like I don't know.
I mean, we could always just say like it's mature.
Mature, yeah. I don't know. But that's like the official classification. I don't know. I'm just nitpicking. But this
feels more like a true cartoon for adults more than
adult.
I mean, you could say that about like most well-received adult cartoons, but yeah. This is a
go.
This is a Pendleton Ward and Duncan Trussell joint. Pendleton Ward, of course, known for Adventure Time, and Duncan Trussell, I think, is like a podcaster. Like
I know less about Duncan, more about Pendleton.
Yeah, and like I know you're a big Adventure Time shill, so
yeah, a shill indeed.
So, what's the premise of the Midnight Gospel? So the audience has an idea of what's going on.
Well, and I've never watched the I don't know if you would truly call it a companion series. I assume you don't unless you are just really about every part of it, I guess. But I know that most of the audio for this show was actually the podcast audio at various points of Duncan's life and stuff like I know there's that footage that you can find for each episode on YouTube, but it's not necessarily on Netflix. So I don't know if I count it as part. I mean, it's definitely part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean there is,
but I have not
references to it in several bits.
Yeah. Because like this is the most interesting part of the show to me, where it's it recontextualizes this old ass podcast, like the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, I think it's called.
Yep.
And where it just takes this audio and just makes a new story around the audio, like new visuals, new characters. It's very.
Well, I mean, they also go back and get the previous people from the podcast to come add some lines to it.
Yeah, but still, there's still the source audio that's that's the core of the episode, you know? Like, they build a story around that.
I think you still can appreciate, I don't know, I need to get around to watching the actual, source on that, because, I mean, it's still very apparent, and I appreciate it, because it does feel like you're watching two things at once when you're going through it again.
Mm-hmm.
But even the first time, because it was always very coy on, even how they allow the audio, was a lot of different for guests.
Yeah.
But
it does tie into the visuals where it's this character forgot what Clancy is it?
Clancy.
Yeah.
Clancy. Yeah, where he's going from a dimension to dimension, talking about these wacky, bizarre characters every episode.
Death a constant theme in almost every single one, be front and center or happening in the background or the subplot, I guess.
Yeah. Should we give opening thoughts?
Yeah.
All right. Simeon, you it's been a while since you've been on here. You start.
So I literally just realized my take on this is shit. Because I watched this. I had I just jumped back into the group, so I had a week to watch this, and I thought they were making fun of podcasts that have celebrity guests on that just talk about nonsense. And so by 2 episodes in, I was like, okay, I get it. I watched the whole thing, but I kind of tuned out for a lot of this because I was just it's say goofy podcast sounding shit and animate something cool over it. But now I'm hearing this was audio from an actual podcast that these people did.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about this anymore.
It was all heartfelt. They were like doctors and like all different types of people, but it was all like heartfelt, like audio.
Okay. See, I thought the entire point of this show isn't the Joe Rogan experience goofy?
No, because like the thing is, Joe Rogan, the barbarian model of Joe Rogan still holds so much water, in my opinion. He is a barbarian warlord on the edge of society, and he brings in people and goes like, "All right, science man, tell me about science." And like that kind of thing.
Like this felt like a more philosophical, heartfelt version of that to me.
It's a very philosophy kind of thing, but also there is another, with the understanding that it comes from a podcast, like a real honest to God podcast. It paints
like whatever the fuck this is.
It paints certain things in a different light because that was his mom in the last episode.
Yeah,
that wasn't an actress playing his mom. That was his mom.
Okay.
And they were talking about those ideas in totality.
All right. Well, then my whole take is garbage. I don't know what I have to say about this thing other than like the main guy. I kept thinking he sounded like TJ Miller, and eventually I had to look it up to make sure it wasn't TJ Miller.
Oh, I could definitely get that from his voice.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll just shut up for the rest of the episode.
I mean, to be fair, I'll give my take on it. This was like I kind of made a mistake too of like waiting till the very last minute to watch this. No, you kind of need to, especially because I was also playing some like really absurd video games around that time. So it's like my brain was kind of fricked up by the end. Like I was like barely comprehending shit, and it's like this is a very show you need to lock in, and it's like it is a surreal ass show, and you kind of need to like I mean, it's a auditory visual experience, and it uses both audio and visual to their maximum. It's a lot. I can see why it's like a cult classic, and I see why a lot of people love it. I don't think it's my personal favorite thing, like Netflix cartoon or whatever, but it's like I can still appreciate the artistry of it, especially how it kind of like evolves remix culture. Because to me, this feels like an evolution of like those kind of YouTube reanimated like things where it's like they take an audio from like a Let's Play or a podcast and they just animate over it. This is just like, what if we did that as a whole show? You know?
Yeah. I think even that as a concept, though, I think just as also from like streamers and reactors, not just podcasters, like there's always been people like for Let's Players and stuff where like they'll find funny moments and either just animate that to elevate the funniness or just completely change the context.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of like that Run Wild, like that like I guess visually, like maybe if you pulled back as well, like it would just be that concept running wild all over, and I do appreciate it for that. I don't know. I still do find myself, even though it has plenty of like fun little things to look at that I normally like seeing in my like animations. I do like to hyper focus on like the quality of what they're talking of, yapping on about in the.
Yeah. The thing is, though, like it's not just absurdist illustrations for the sake of absurdity. Like there's a purpose behind each of them. There's a reason behind it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Sometimes they're poking fun at what's actively being talked about, or other times it's like pushing the narrative forward or adding to what's being said in a very like subtle way.
Like the prison episode, just reiterating that the idea of I can't remember what's the actual term in like Buddhist teachings, like samsara. But the cycle of like of suffering and all this kind of stuff, and how one needs to be separate from it and understand it, but also own it fully and that kind of stuff. And paralleling that with a prison escape, and it's like it adds to what they're talking about to make them what they're talking about make sense if you aren't already in that kind of headspace.
And another like side note that I always appreciate about this is that it does feel, or it can get a little meta at times with some like certain concepts, but like I do still love the fact that essentially he is plugging into a simulator, as if like playing into the whole like, oh, we're a simulation like concept of just showing that even though like no matter what the start of the simulator is, or like the fact that like yeah, like this guy's got a million of them, it's like, oh, but it's still genuine life and like souls.
Yeah, and
I
if you don't
appreciate the
take
fact that
go.
what up? Nope.
And the
No,
fact that if you don't take care of it, it can fall and fail and falter.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, for me, like the most interesting stuff in the show was all the stuff outside the simulator. Whenever the computer would be like, "Well, master, you need to do this thing," or you have this message you need to listen to, and he would just ignore it. I was like, "Is this going to come back? Is this going to come to a head at like the season finale?" And it kind of does, but it's also like we're trying to make a point about like why he should be paying attention to that stuff, and I'm like, I think I would have. I'm kind of like developing this opinion as I'm listening to you guys. I think I would have enjoyed hearing that messaging a lot more as like a full podcast rather than like the undercurrent of an animated adventure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways they like kind of pull you along and hit at you with both the little mixes of audio that they put in and the visuals of like it's not just him like being neglectful of the simulator, but also just in general of himself and self care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like with it being so digestible with 8 episodes, I think it's a great little.
It's a great like little beginner course of like so many little aspects of like there's elements of absurdism, like not just wacky visuals, like actual like Camus style bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
meditation and philosophy and Buddhism and all these different kinds of ideas. The death episode was probably like, just because death is such a big thing, like for everybody, and just sitting in it in not a spooky kind of way, but just in a like, no, things die. We need to appreciate that to an extent.
Yeah, it's I like the nonchalantness of the person they were interviewing as well. I think it fits very.
I looked it up. She's she's a YouTuber. She does
Oh.
like YouTube videos about the death care industry.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I also just like in general, I think this, because this only ran for one season. I kind of think this was a bit ahead of its time in some way, but also like it was too early in terms of like how it came out. Like just because it's like, okay, got this, like it was released when Netflix refused to do weekly releases, and this is like there's serialized elements, but this is a very episodic show. You don't want to binge this, trust me. This is not really like, and this was like before Netflix really like really realized, hey, people like weekly releases, or like bad, like they
They
spaced
still
out their
haven't realized that.
Yeah, well, well, I mean, yeah, but like half and half. Some shows they do, some shows they don't. But it's like, and this also came out during the pandemic, so maybe not everyone was like in the mood for like to hear all this shit, or like some people, like I process things by hearing like tough shit like this, but like not everyone does. So it is what it is. So like I do feel like this, like it's a great show. It just, like, the timing like kind of diminished its chances of like wider appeal, I feel.
Yeah.
But like it's still like, it's still a great like one-off little thing. Like I didn't feel like this needed another season. Like it's a fine, like, Cody was right when he recommended it. This was a good one-off.
No, yeah, I feel of it more of like I guess what I understand to be I'm gonna butcher it if I say it, but talk about it. Is it like Baba Gita, the short like novelization, this little like Hindu book, I think it is.
I think that's pretty close.
Like kind of like a short little pack of like, not like brain tease, but just like a short little burst of like interesting. I don't know, like I think it can evoke some feeling. I don't think every single episode is like heavy hitting. Because I mean, they talk about like drugs and stuff like that as well, and like those are a little sillier sometimes, or at least those discussions are. But
yeah, like the very first episode where he's talking to Glasses Man president, and it's just that's very much like, I think it's more to like lull you into a sense of false security.
Yeah, one of the more lighter subjects to like ease you in.
That is also like one of the only legit laughs I got is when he just lands on him and the guy just goes, "I'm the president."
Yeah.
I think truthfully though, I appreciate it for the finalization, I guess, the last episode, and then where the show ends up, because I was very surprised by the ending originally, and I think even when it first came out, I watched it all in one sitting. But like I said, I don't know if they like, you could probably shift some of the episodes around and it wouldn't necessarily feel too crazy, as long as like you got the first episode and the last episode.
Yeah.
Maybe even the first episode could be interchanged, but I think
ultimately the last two episodes just need to be the last two, because it's coming to an understanding of Clancy as a character, realizing that he is his own biggest enemy. It's all his fault, and then getting the chance to start making amends, which is what he gets a chance to do with like Death and his mom. You know.
I can't remember if Magic or the Snail in
we do see
Adventure. I'm sure they're in there somewhere. There's so much.
Oh yeah,
gotta love the crow boobs, smoking crows.
Yeah, in the fantasy world with fucking Pauly Shore.
Yeah,
Pauly Shore is always a great kid for animation, honestly.
Goofy movie.
A lot of the designs are just really great and top notch.
Yeah, like I've seen these in profile pics for like the last couple of years. It's like they're very striking and memorable, like despite the simplicity.
It's not my kind of animation, but I can look at it and go, that is very well done. People will like that.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Super Jail. You know, a lot of the ways they draw some of the characters, and kind of like go from scene to scene as well. We should watch some Super Jail. That's a little more chaotic and less like. We probably shouldn't actually watch some.
We should watch some G.I. Joe Extreme.
The thing about Super Jail, this is like we're gonna get back to it, but the thing about Super Jail is whenever I watch it, it felt like watching an animated Where's Waldo picture.
Yeah.
You know, no, there's a lot of just a lot of fun little tiny elements in Midnight Gospel. I think is really cool, and it's just a little bit of just you see yourself reflected. And the reflection is going through some shit, and you need to, and it makes you kind of reflect on yourself of like, I should probably reflect on some of my own shit, you know?
Yeah, I can see this I can see this thing as a whole, as like what Buster was saying, like even like unrelated to like outside circumstances, depending on where you are, like inside it, especially like the first time you're watching it, it might hit completely different than even a second time later on, or right off from the rip. I don't know.
It can, like, here's the thing. If you're, I'm not going to try and put words in your mouth. If you're like Sim and you kind of see it and go like, oh, it's a pastiche of being deep. Sure, but if like you're getting into it and you buy into the idea of like of the deep self-reflection, the ego death, all that kind of jazz and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's interesting to like see how it progressed and see how they like interpret it in visual storytelling, because like you have the one guy, the magic guy, who's going on and on about magic and self-reflection of the internal and all that kind of stuff, and the character he's eventually portraying is kind of just like a jackass who sleeps with another guy's wife, you know. Or like, again, Glasses President Man, he's in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and all he's talking about is drugs.
Yeah.
Like, the way they frame it creates compliments and metaphor, but also disconnect and purposeful contrast to make you like examine what they're doing, examine yourself. Like, it's meant to try and be as multifaceted as possible so you can look at it Like it's going. We are going to obfuscate some of this shit, so you don't know exactly what to think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, this is why I was like, okay, I have my own thoughts, but just like I need Boingo to help me like put it together because it's just like
No, don't let me be your fucking thinker, man.
yeah. Well, like I do have my think. Like I have my think about like like the creative side, but it's like more the philosophy. It's like Boingo, help me. Yeah.
No, and I mean, I think it's like healthy and fun to play with like those concepts anyway, whether it be
Yeah.
for like the first time or just like enjoying
Yeah.
it or hearing what.
Yeah, there's multiple layers. Like you can like analyze the themes, you can like have self-reflection, but you can also just enjoy the absurdity.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, like the magic guy looks insane.
Probably.
I have to.
What's the character's name?
It's the guy with the fish bowl head.
Oh yeah,
in
that
the
guy.
show.
Yeah.
But in real life, he was like a dude who went to jail
Oh
and did
yeah.
magic.
Yeah.
And
Well, let me
the
check.
reason he got out was that they found more evidence that proved his innocence, kind of thing.
Damien Ecolis was it, or was it no, I think that was a different one. Let me double check.
No, yeah, it's a Colos.
Ecolis, yeah, Damien Ecolis, yeah.
Let me see if I.
He has a Wikipedia page. Don't worry.
I thought it was like an older picture. I saw that. No, maybe not.
Cody, anything else? Like, any other thoughts you got?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, obviously my favorite episode is the last one.
Yeah, no, it's a good
but
episode.
It is it's a hard one to like gush about. I think it's something that like I think everybody should give it at least a gander. And I think the last episode is the last two exceptionally, but even just the last one, I think they're both worth the payoff, even if you don't end up liking the first couple episodes, since it only asks of 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm. I do find it interesting that like the final episode, which is the episode where he talks to his mom and kind of just discusses a lot of interesting, heavy shit on death and presence and all that kind of stuff, is the one where they cut from the podcast conversation the least. You know what I mean? Like they don't cut in with gags and re-record things. It's like, no, their conversation pretty much sounds like it came straight from the podcast. I think that's interesting. It really makes it feel more present in their conversation and what they're trying to emotionally talk through with each other.
Yeah, and knowing that there was a little bit of that was like both before and after. So like you're not only just getting the character talking to this mother character and going through the visuals that we're seeing, but we're also understanding that the person doing the talking is going through something actively with this as like a vessel. In a way of like talking. I really I think it's a very beautiful.
And that's another
something.
Yeah, that there's a thought there too, because a lot of this show is about like self, the extension of consciousness, the connectivity between us and everyone else, us in the universe, us in spirituality. And it's an interesting thought that we are seeing these ideas abstracted, removed of self into a simulated version of a reality, exploring these ideas in showing their validity not just within the our understanding of the physical realm. You know what I mean?
Duh.
But because we're listening to this discussion of like death, not through a woman who has been dealing with dead bodies and arranging funerals and all this kind of stuff as her career and talking about it as a living, but as a embodiment of death, kind of reframes the conversation and like how we can connect to it ourselves, you know?
Anybody else got any other thoughts they want to squeeze out?
I liked it, but like it's not like 100% my thing, but I do appreciate this a lot, like as its own like creative like work.
Simeon?
It's not the worst thing I've had to sit through for this show, but I didn't really love it or have that strong of an opinion about it to begin with, and my opinion has slightly morphed in the last, what has this been, 20 minutes?
30. Here's my question, Sim, because they talk about spirituality and religiosity to an extent, a fair amount. We're thinking back on it now because you're kind of like rethinking how you're approaching the media. How are you as what we will call a staunch post Reddit atheist?
Oh, that's fair, Buster. That's fair.
How kind of like just like let's talk about that. Like this is like all these elements of like interconnectivity and talking with each other and trying to be present and not letting the world batter you and beat you, because fundamentally all these different kinds of stuff. How do you feel with that religious spiritual overtone on this? How like thoughts? Conversation.
I
Let's
think
try.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it and get back to you because I was honestly pretty tuned out by that point.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know. I immediately just like vibed with a lot of. That's also a thing about me. I am weirdly into metaphysical. Like
Weirdly, that's the most in character thing I've heard you say.
Also, it's just like generally with that kind of stuff at this point in my life, whenever I hear people get on that kind of thing, I'm just like, that's fine. I'm happy that that works for you as long as you're not forcing it on other people. Whatever.
yeah.
Like it doesn't phase me. It doesn't catch my interest. It doesn't make me mad. I'm just like, yeah, other people have takes on the world.
I mean, that's honestly why I said post Reddit atheist for you, bud.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I am also one of those people who actively pursues weirdo metatextual understandings of the world.
So
I need to read Super Gods one of these days.
we could chalk it up
Yeah.
to being art school wieners.
Art school wiener.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that is an interesting thing because me and you went to art school. We went through the art history bullshit. We learned about movements of postmodern and absurdism and surrealism. So we have like a frame of reference to a lot of what they're kind of going on about, because art is just a reflection of humanity. And if what they're talking about is just massive swaths of human understanding and consciousness,
Yeah, and
you know,
It's funny more than anything, I think, that I came back on this episode because you literally recently called me out as being a guy who would hate shit like Twin Peaks. And I said in the comments of that episode, because I wasn't on that episode, like, yeah, I like shit to be what it is and say what it means and just be its thing. I don't like having to have to do research or after work. I just want to enjoy a thing. So
I don't think you have to do afterwards.
I didn't mean that specifically. That's just the example that Boingo cited when he was calling me out.
Fair enough.
yeah. And I don't think this is like super a metaphorical shit. Like a lot of what's metaphor is just visual reinterpretation of what's being said, you know?
Yeah. I think it's more like it's about like him having to get up the guts to talk to his sister about their bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, but what if he just talked to his sister about their bullshit? I think I'd enjoy that more.
Sometimes it is hard.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
struggle.
Emotion struggling.
I mean, I fully connected with a lot of the thoughts of like how showing being kind of wanting to pursue a thing and being slightly oblivious to just the bullshit that's putting other people through.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. Just the way that fucking happened of just like, hey, I was kind of oblivious to how of how me doing a thing can hurt people. Just funny. But like
We understand. We can understand.
But like the best way I can explain it is like post graduation, I was stuck at my house pretty much nonstop, and I fell into like a depression. I fell, and there was moments where I had like anxiety. Like I don't know if I may have told you this, Cody. I may have told Buster and Simeon, but at a certain point, like I was afraid to just walk out of my house and go into town because I was super afraid of running into someone from school and them asking, "So what are you doing now?" and saying nothing, you know? Like that was a genuine fear I had. And you want to know how I got over it? Because I realized 4 years had passed and nobody I knew at school I would ever actually run into. The fear of actually,
you never know.
I like how your fear is literally a dream of mine.
but no, it was because fundamentally I didn't actually confront the anxiety. The thing that would make me anxious was just a nil possibility anymore, and that also filled me with a sense of dread of I have wasted so much of my life that now I can't even show that I'm a waste of life anymore. Like there's nothing to even prove that I have wasted. And that just
like
makes
you've
me
been
feel like,
passed by.
yeah, like genuinely. Hold on, fuck.
No, I mean I
You
definitely feel you
okay?
with that.
No, I am starting to well up a little bit.
Oh, buddy.
I mean, I think that's kind of something the show wants you to do. It doesn't want you to bottle these things up. It wants you to like let experience. Don't
Yeah,
let
and
all that kind
it's
of
not
stuff.
about like
So
him running old people. It's about having to face the idea of where you're holding yourself at.
mhm.
And
And being able to,
I know about one
yeah,
those people and explaining, just having to face it because it makes it a little more fear inducing. And I mean I was of the camp that if I wasn't in school actively or like doing something towards a greater form of education, like I was dead. Like
yeah.
if like a shark, like if I wasn't moving, I was dead.
And see, here's the thing with that, Cody. I I don't think I've never said this to you. I felt. Give me a second. This is tough to say. I felt really small when you were able to start doing more. You know,
Love you guys. Y'all deserve the best.
because it felt like essentially one of the few people that would like get me, understand me on my level is now moving so far ahead I couldn't even keep up to him. No.
Yeah, and it's not even about that. I dude, like, how do you think I still feel some whenever I go and look at a page and see what like she does and like working with just like not directly at Leica, but like working with Jordan Peele and like doing like actual stop motion. Like for someone like that, like both me and you met her and watched her like just like, yep, I have this goal. I'm gonna go do this goal, and boom, I'm actually actively doing this goal, and here I am. And I mean, seeing the reality of that helped me a little bit modernly. No, it sucks because whether it's you looking out or me, it really is shitty to feel like you're being passed up, whether or not by people or just by life. And
Yeah. And I think part of it was just like realizing that like it wasn't life doing it to me, it was me doing it to me and letting myself be responsible but also taking the steps to actually like do it and not avoid the actual problem because like there was a time like that's what like you creating things on YouTube and that kind of stuff was initially started as like the fucking space cast that Clancy started. It was a way to escape the actual problem, thinking you're doing something when you're just sitting in the muck and the filth for longer. And it's like letting your like acknowledging of like what the actual problem is, and then you can actually start solving it.
well, you gave me a push out of that, or out of a version of that mindset before I had started at Flow Arts or St. John's, because I know it's been so long, but like right out of high school, I didn't actually I became stagnant, rough reason for a little while, and you went right into school. And I remember you were pushing me to telling me how to sign up and telling me I need to go ahead and do it, and that it's crazy and everything like that. And I had that similar. I realized I was just waking up continuously and like, what was going on. And I mean, sometimes those things come.
Oh,
And
when
it
I
feels
don't
like a
get a job
synchronicity.
for like a week or two, those emotions start
Oh,
popping
the
back up
fear,
of
yeah.
like of oh no, I'm nothing. I like all that. Oh
I whenever I totaled my car, and it was taking me forever to find another one. I was like talking to my mom, and she made a comment at one point. She's like, "Oh my God, Cody, what the fuck are you gonna do? You're fucked. And like it was really bad shit to say.
Wonderful words to hear from your mother.
But like I was at that point, like I stopped for a second. I was like, oh well, and I'm like, I actually have to go now. I'm like, because someone else said the thing that I kept thinking, and I don't want
to. Especially someone not like
no, yeah,
but like it's someone that you have already a rough relationship with, that you just, and having her, a person you're not like having her say that back to you, reflecting yourself, and it's just like
because like even I was like, it was a situation of like, I'm like, oh, I know, like it was like like you just spilled some water. I was like, oh no, that you shouldn't have heard that. You know that's wrong. And I'm like, yes, I do know that's wrong. But what about the fact that it was actually said? And I'm like, yep, I'm gonna go have to deal with that. I'll see you later. Hop off this phone room. But sometimes that still is how those things are. It feels like you're standing beside yourself and you're like, oh yes, I see both the start, middle, and end of this like emotion cycle, but still do have to write it out.
Mm-hmm.
You could know everything about it and still have to. And the show talks about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to Boingo and Snowcone talk about their personal issues as if this podcast is therapy, while we're supposed to be discussing the Midnight Gospel.
Hey, no, it's what invoked those emotions in you. It's fair. Sometimes art's about the emotion, like it's less about the
and that's another
story.
thing, like,
if anything, now you can make an episode of the Midnight Gospel.
Are we there yet? No, we got an hour. We have me and Boingo have an
hour. Right. Should we move on to the next thing? Next month's big.
Sure,
big
I'm excited to know.
All right, I'm the picker next month, and I've decided
we get to read you and watch you and listen to you because that's
yeah. So I have been wanting to do this for a while, and with Simeon back, this kind of pushed me to finally recommend you guys the 1997 classic Berserk. We're doing the 97 anime.
Oh, all right.
Holy voices.
Have we all experienced Berserk here?
I've experienced some aspects of it.
I know things about Berserk. I've always been interested in it, but literally the only thing I've experienced is I listen to a 1-hour loop of Guts' theme when I go to sleep.
Right.
I mean, hey, that's a good, like, this is one of my favorite shows of all time. I'll be real. And it's not the manga. It's not the. I know I couldn't do the manga because that's just way too big right now. So we're just gonna stick to the 97 anime adaptation, aka the best adaptation. So it's not 1-to-1 with the manga. I mean, yeah, there's not really much competition. It's not 1-to-1 with the manga, but still really good. You can find the episodes on YouTube. Also, yes, Simeon, this is a 2000/90s English dub. You'll be fine. So I do actually love the English dub for this show. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's also before Funny took over English dubbing in America, and the quality dropped.
Got more standardized. We'll put it that way.
Question, Buster.
Yes, Noko?
I don't know if I've seen that specific version of this. I do want you to know that I've seen a more shortened version, and I watched it for the first time with some of the people that you met in the party the other night.
Like the Golden Age movies?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, because those this covers the similar story, but like this is a completely different way. There's like different music, different like animation, voice actors. So I still.
Oh no, I know.
Yeah, so there's still like a lot to discuss there. I feel with this specific version of the story.
I just wanted to tell you that when we all did that together, I knew nothing of Berserk and none of us did, and so we all got to like share a room.
Oh,
with like some of those scenes.
Yeah, some of the scenes. Oh, yeah.
So,
but yeah,
either way,
there's a lot of graphic content in the show, but like I think y'all can handle it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, next up, Berserk 97.
Yeah.
Batman 97. You heard it.
I'm gonna assume that we're good with that recording, and I can just pop it out.
The what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prematurely ending us.
Ah!
Wait, we didn't plug